Good morning, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scarbo here. We're going to look at the astrology of the week ahead, and that would be the week starting Sunday, March 21st, which was actually, March 20th. Goodness gracious. I'm looking at the wrong, I'm looking at the wrong month. I'm looking at May. Excuse me a second. March 21st to March 27th. And so we start Sunday. We start with Sunday. That actually was yesterday. I did do my thing yesterday. So you can check that out for the day specifically. But I do want to mention something. We have a couple of things. We actually have a first quarter square between the sun and the moon. The moon actually is started the day in Gemini and shifted into Cancer early in the morning, 8:18 a.m. And so Sunday was a pretty sensitive day for most people. And Venus also changed signs and moved into Aries. Venus, of course, has been in Pisces, the sign of his exaltation. So Venus loves being in Pisces. Venus, however, in Aries is a little bit more of an uncomfortable fit for Venus. Venus in Aries brings out the warrior nature in Venus. And while Venus is often associated with things like love and relationship, etc., we certainly have relationships with our enemies as well, don't we? And Venus in Aries is much more of a sort of warrior nature energy. But there were the Mayans, in fact, saw Venus as a symbol of aggression and war, and they would, I believe this is true, they would plan their attacks by what Venus was doing in the sky. Of course, Venus can either be the morning star or the evening star, and it has been the evening star, I believe, and at the end of this week, it's going to be making a conjunction to the sun. And then Venus moves faster than the sun, and so Venus will be coming out as the morning star. And the Venus morning star is much more initiative. It tends to explore, force the issue. It's really kind of more of a Venus and Taurus energy as opposed to a Venus and Libra energy when it comes to that. And of course, issues of survival and stuff, and issues of moving forward in our relationships and just moving forward in our lives. Venus also deals with our values, so it's not just simply what we love. But to a certain extent, it's what we're willing to fight for. Okay. So there's a shift of that energy. And also that first quarter square while the moon was in Gemini. And that actually was, when did that first quarter square happen? It looks like, I'm sorry. It's in Aries now. First quarter square happens with the moon in Cancer. And that occurred at, 10:40 a.m. yesterday. That's that crisis in action. So if you felt very active yesterday, if you felt like you wanted to get moving on stuff, certainly with the first quarter moon, with Venus in Aries, we definitely wanted to do that. We also had another sort of get moving kind of aspect, and that was a trine between Mars and Saturn. Now, the Mars-Saturn trine, it's actually the only major aspect, I believe, that's happening to Saturn. Oh, no, I'm incorrect. We have a sextile to Saturn at the end of the sun to Saturn. Or is it the only one that Mars is doing? It very well might be the only aspect that Mars, exact aspect that Mars is making, besides the aspects that Mars makes to the sun. To the moon, of course, because the moon moves so fast, it makes all kinds of aspects to all the planets in a month. But Yeah, so it's Mars that was, and of course Mars changed signs at the beginning of this month, right? So there's a shift in Mars, but Mars trine Saturn is it's a creative trine. It's one of those Leo side trines, and it really has to do with creative expression, creativity. Um, there's a certain amount of putting yourself out there. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Putting yourself out there with that Mars trine Saturn. Uh, as I said yesterday, the energy that started this week is, except perhaps for the first quarter square of the sun and moon, but even that has influence for the rest of the week, because it sort of starts us off. That first quarter square is our first crisis that we face after that very, very powerful new moon in Pisces, right? We had that new moon in Pisces, conjunct Neptune, conjunct Venus. So we're sort of moving, we're sort of working on whatever seeds were planted at that time. And that was very much a time of planting seeds of imagination, um, visualizing what it is what you want to create. And then so this week starts with that energy of course I visualized, I lit my candles, I put my intentions out there on the new moon. Now I actually have to do something to help it happen. And that's kind of the energy really of the whole week, this week. So we will find ourselves being much more sort of proactive in the energies. And then, of course, as the moon moves through the signs, it starts with Cancer, then it goes to Leo, and then and then it goes to Virgo. So the signs associated with the moon, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, are very much how we interact and how it affects us personally, and what we sort of come up with that energy. And then we have to remember that next week, the beginning of next week, we actually have a full moon. So a lot of the work that's happening this week, we will see some sort of fruition by Sunday, which is when we have the full moon in Libra. So working on your relationships this week. And of course, we have to work on our relationships, because how would we get anything done if we didn't like relate to one another? Say, hey, can you help me here? Yesterday, we we're doing the office. We have put new floor down. And there's just a couple of things that these like little, like the big work is done, but then you have to do the small works. You have to do the details. You have to fix the thresholds, and because you put a new floor down, everything should, the levels change. And we had to take the doors down. Now we have to put the doors back up. You see, I put my door up behind. Well, I didn't do it. The point of what I'm trying to tell you is that Michael and I, we have a good friend of mine whose sons come, who are also friends of ours, and help us out with these chores that we really can't do by ourselves anymore. There was a time when we could do them, but because of age and injury, we have to sort of ask for help. Not something that we're all that good at, or were all that good at, but I'm telling you, we're getting better and better at it. And I think that there's a lesson in that for everybody. I think if you need help, ask for it. Don't expect it. Just ask for it. If the people who you expect to ask to help you can't help you, you'd be surprised at who can. There's always somebody out there who's willing to help. And that's happened, many times in my life. When you go to the grocery store and you forget your money. Well, you can't, that doesn't really happen anymore because mostly everything's electronic. But in the old days, you go to the grocery store and you forget your money, or you don't have enough money, and the guy behind you says, I'll pay for groceries, or, I'll pay, and here's my number. You can get back to me. You can send me a check. I mean, people actually do that. People have done that to me, and mostly I would say no, because I was too embarrassed. But I think that saying yes to that kind of stuff is good, and seeing where you can help. I was thinking about the women who passed away down in who were killed, and the people who were killed down in Georgia. And there was one, I don't know her name, but there was one person who had two boys, And they started a GoFundMe page, and these kids, like, I don't know how much money they raised for these kids' future, for college, and to make sure that they're, and these are just regular people, just, putting their money where their heart is. And it's a beautiful thing, but you shouldn't have to be a victim to do that. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be such a dire situation. Help those who you can help when you can help them, and ask for help when you need help, because you're giving people an opportunity to feel good about themselves, quite frankly. All right, so there's this very sort of active energy that starts this week, and it continues today, Monday. The moon is in Cancer all day. This is the 22nd. This is my husband's birthday. Happy birthday, Michael. And my little Aries, or I should say my big Aries. It's not really little guys, but anyway, just burly, strong. Not as strong as he used to be, but has a strong heart, which is the most important thing, right? So the moon makes a square to Chiron to start the week, or Monday, the weekdays, right? And that's a crisis in action. And so the Chiron in Aries is the wounded masculine. Some people, you could call it the toxic masculine. You could call it the wounds around identity. How do you identify yourself? It can even be the wounds of judging a book by its cover. Um, Aries rules the head and the face. And so you look at somebody's head and their face, and you see the color of their skin, and you see the slant of their eyes, and you see, what you might, or the hair, what kind of hair they have. And you might make a judgment as to where they're from, what country, or, and they could be here for, 200 years, and you're judging them. And they're as American, or maybe even more American than the person judging them. So there's this, at face value kind of thing, that we need to dig deeper into, and figure out how we're going to navigate, especially as the economy tries to, uh, start moving forward. A lot of what we're dealing with now all over the world is, things were bad before, but with the closing of the economies, things have gotten worse for the people who it was worse for to begin with. So they're all on the move, trying to take advantage to a certain extent of opportunities that are being sort of put forth. And why not, right? I mean, but we have to have the opportunities to give them, and we can't, and we have to sort of figure out how we're going to help one another. And we're still in a pretty divided situation on the planet, but that is changing, I think, and that's what we have to work towards. We have to work towards unity. We have to work towards unity in whatever way that means, and it starts at home, and it starts in your community, and then it starts then it goes into your state, and then it goes into your region, and then it goes into your country, and then it goes into the world. So it's the little things for those of us who are not, working at the UN, or dealing, or for the FBI, dealing with these criminal elements that take advantage of these situations. Um, we can just do it in little ways. And that's I think the week is very much that energy of doing things in little ways, because the moon signs are very personal. They're very personal. Cancer is very, very personal. It's very personal emotions. Leo is our personal creations. And then Virgo is how we improve on those things. So we have there's a lot of work ahead of us this week, but good work. Good work. All right. So then we move into Tuesday. And Tuesday we have a square between Mercury and Mars. So Mercury and Mars, of course, Mars is in Gemini, Mercury is in Pisces, still in Pisces. And so this can be a little acting on, and a little bit of confusion. But and also because of the type of square Mercury Mars, it's the last quarter. there's more of a rebellious nature to it. So I feel like we're going to see more protests this week. I know the George Floyd, they selected the jury, I think, the George Floyd trial. So we have to keep an eye on that. That's sort of a powder keg, a very, very hot spot, as it were, as people are trying to, the murder of George Floyd and to a certain extent Breonna Taylor, or that combination, was really sort of the engine here in the States that sort of started things. And now we're coming to a point in that where somebody's being asked to be held accountable, and we don't know what's gonna happen. But whatever happens on the other side of that is gonna create something, and we have to be prepared for that. It could be great, and we have to be prepared for that. It could be terrible, and we have to be prepared for that. With sort of an open heart, but with an eye to what's really going on and how we can prevent things from getting worse, actually, if we can. There is a sesquiquadrate between Mars and Pluto. Now, I don't talk about sesquiquadrates very often. So this is the 23rd. This is Tuesday. Sesquiquadrates are what many astrologers would call minor aspects. They're not really minor. They do create, especially the sesquiquadrate, can create a real crisis. And it is an energy, it's a humbling energy. And Mars and Pluto deal with our collective, the expression and action that we take based on the collective sort of lesson that the soul wants to learn, Pluto, when these two planets conjoin. And they made their conjunction. I have it written here, do I? These two planets conjoin. Now, this is Mars and Pluto on March 23rd of 2020. So a year to the day, they made their conjunction. And now a year later, they're making this sesquiquadrate. Whatever was seeded at that time is coming to a critical point in its evolution. We may feel like we've achieved this. This is our creation. And now there can be a humbling experience in that it's not exactly what you think it is. And you still need to work it. You still need to work on it. And the next phase past the sesquiquadrate, the next major aspect that we're going to see between Pluto and Mars is an opposition. And that opposition brings a sense of fruition. We see what the soul wanted to bring in, what unconscious desire has been made conscious. And because all of this is happening with the initial conjunction in Capricorn, we're dealing with taking authority in our own life. We're dealing with being responsible. We're dealing with our relationship to power. And how can we become empowered? And of course, in the sense of empowerment, there are those who feel disempowered, those who had power before starting to feel disempowered. And so that's a little bit of a dangerous thing because nobody wants to lose power, but there needs to be a balancing of power. This is about a balancing of power, a balancing between the haves and the have-nots, a balancing between the feminine and the masculine, a balancing that we need to come to in order to expect society to move and grow and evolve, right? Where we have Saturn and Jupiter made that conjunction in Aquarius. That's a 20-year cycle. And all the conjunctions after that for the next 200 years are going to be in air. So it's important that we learn how to live together. It's important that we learn how to communicate and listen as well as speak, right? So that's important. So that's a pretty big deal. So Tuesday is a pretty big deal. And that sesquiquadrate can create a lot of challenging things in your life and in the world. So we just have to be aware of that. On the 24th, Oh, also on the 23rd, the moon shifts into Leo. That occurs around 6 p.m. on the east coast of the US. And of course, add, all this tension with Pluto and Mars and Mercury and Mars. And then you add Leo on top of it. Leo is the self-expressive. But there's a lot of courage in Leo, and Leo rules the heart. So it can go either way, and it will probably go both ways depending on what you're focusing on and what your situation is and where you look. So there's going to be distress. There's going to be beautiful things. What are you going to focus on? And what are you going to focus on in your own life that's going to make a difference in this? Let's see, on Wednesday, the moon is in, of course, Leo all day. It does make a supportive trine to the sun. This is a Leo side trine with the Leo moon. So this is creative self-expression. So we can expect people to be expressing themselves creatively. The moon also makes an opposition to Saturn. And so we're expressing ourselves creatively, but we're also looking at things in a very realistic way. So we get sort of a reality check in alignment with what it is that we're creating at this time. And we have a sextile of the moon in Leo to Mars. And so this is a little bit easier of an expression. It's about opening the lines of communication. It's about talking to one another. It's about listening. It's about gathering information. On Wednesday, on Thursday, the moon is in Leo until let's see, until well, actually, the moon is in Leo all day for the most part, at least here on the West Coast. It does shift into Virgo at 11:25 p.m., so like 11:30 at night. But it is void for most of the day. The moon is void for most of the day. The last major aspect it makes is an opposition to Jupiter in Aquarius. And oppositions bring awareness, right? Jupiter brings perhaps the need for expansion. And so of all the days, probably Thursday is the quietest day when it comes to outer activity, but very active inwardly. On the 26th, which is Friday, Friday happens to be Venus's day. We have the moon in Virgo, but we have a conjunction between the sun and Venus. The sun and Venus make conjunctions, and it starts, and when that happens, when the sun and Venus come together, it is either going to it's the start of a new Venus star point. And as I said, we're in the Venus star Aries star point, with Venus direct and the sun, of course, the sun's always direct. But this is, as I said in the beginning, a time to sort of bring up some more aggressive or proactive, or the energy of Venus being like, I like that, and I'm going to go get it for myself. You're kind of blending the energy of Venus and Aries together, because Venus and Mars together, because Venus is in a sign that's ruled by Mars. So there is a stepping forward. There's a lot of bravery in that Venus, and as it conjoins the sun, and is about to come out from under the underworld, because you can't see Venus in the sky right now because it's so close. But eventually, Venus is going to move out of from under the rays of the sun and move forward out into the world. So it's very it's a sort of a very exciting time, and another symbol of the rising of the feminine, which we've talked about over and over again through this period. So that's pretty important. And then on the 27th, which is when Passover begins, that's what my calendar says. The moon remains in Virgo, but goes void at around 7:48 p.m. We have oppositions of the moon to Mercury, to Neptune. These are more of subtle awarenesses, especially the opposition to Mercury. We might, the opposition to Neptune, we may feel a little confused. We may feel like things are not quite clear, um, but there's definitely more of a sort of calming down energy at the end of the week. So we're looking at a very, very active week for the most part. And so let's take a look. I want to see where the conjunction of Venus and Mars. I mean, Venus and the Sun. I want to see what degree that is because I don't actually know that. I mean, I've talked about it, but I don't have it in front of me. So just give me a moment here. Okay, guys. So here's the conjunction. I have a lot. There's a lot of planets in this chart, but I want to point out a few things. So we have the conjunction between the Sun and Venus. That's occurring at 6 degrees of Aries, very, very close to Chiron in Aries here. Of course, this can start, and it is actually both this conjunction to Chiron is balsamic to Chiron. So the Sun Venus conjunction is balsamic to Chiron. And balsamic is generally a search for meaning, right? A search for meaning. And so this Venus, this beginning of this new Venus cycle comes with this sort of deep feeling of woundedness of our identity, how we identify ourselves and the wounds around that, whether that means we identify ourselves as female or masculine, or we identify us by our race or our color, or our allegiance to, whatever group or community or country that we're dealing with. So we have that, and 6 degrees of Aries. Let's take a look. I'm going to just read. We'll leave this chart up for you, and I'm just going to read the Sabian symbol for that. I have that on another thing here. Let me find that. Okay, so I said 6 degrees, right? 6 degrees of Aries. Oops, I just totally lost where I was at. Hold on 1 second. Okay, 6 degrees of Aries. Says a square with one of its sides brightly illumined, the emotional desire for concrete and stabilizing existence as a person. Wow, that's pretty intense. A one-sided urge for inner stability. The desire for individualization operates at first as a one-pointed or one-sided driving focus, focusing itself upon the exclusive goal. All emotions are at first possessive, and all cultural manifestations operate on this principle of exclusion. All that does not belong to the tribal sphere, one blood, one land, one folk, is the potential enemy. This is a necessary phase for, as in the case of the woman emerging from the sea, the first attempt at building inner realization of an integral being that may be defeated at any time by the regressive pull towards undifferentiation and a prenatal state of non-individualization within the vast womb of nature or within the womb of cosmic space. So the energy of this conjunction deals with wanting to express your own individuality. And so people are going to be putting themselves out there. And while that is important, because we need leaders, we need that warrior nature. We can make it be a spiritual warrior nature as opposed to I'm going to beat you in the head because you're in the wrong neighborhood kind of warrior nature that this can also express. So in a way, we have to, we come out of this very long, almost traumatic period of a year with COVID, and we kind of have to figure out who we are and what we have to offer. and unabashedly, to a certain extent. So that's very interesting. And let me just see if there's anything else connected to that. We do have that conjunction is trine the moon, actually, in this chart, but also Vesta. We have Vesta in Virgo. Vesta is what we devote ourselves to, and Vesta could be healing. Vesta in Virgo is devoting ourselves to healing, and it's healing on the physical level. So that's part of the cycle of the Sun Venus, and of course Venus deals with our resources, and so we kind of have to make sure that we are healthy enough, or it's safe enough, or whatever we have to do, so we can put ourselves out there without putting ourselves in physical harm's way, whether it be from a virus, a germ, or a person, right, or a situation. So there's that energy. Okay, so that's the week ahead. Let me just stop the share, and I'm going to do a card reading next for that. So I have to go grab some cards. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I'm going to do a card reading for this week, but I'm going to use an oracle deck. This is the Illuminated Earth Oracle. So it's not a tarot deck. It's just a beautiful oracle deck that is by an artist in Claire Mack, I think her name is, out of Seattle, and the colors are very Seattle. So let's see. So we're looking at the week ahead. That's the week from March 21st to March 27th. We have a lot of shifting energies. There's a lot of energy to move forward at this time. New starts, and of course, we just moved into the new zodiacal year. So this is really when the rubber meets the road when it comes to moving forward. And here in the States, of course, up in the Northern Hemisphere, well, in the Northern Hemisphere, period, not just in the States, we are in the spring season, and the light is growing now. So we have overcome the darkness. Okay, so let's see what we have here. It starts with renewal. Let's see if I can just bring this so you can read what it says. There it is. Oh, okay, that's how close I have to get. Isn't this a beautiful, look at this card, isn't it gorgeous? We can see below there's sort of like a winter scene, and then in the center we have this, the rain has come, and there's a promise, right, the rainbow, and then up top we see the spring, the renewal of spring, things sort of getting green and the flowers coming up. So there's a general sense of new beginnings this week. We can really feel like we're coming out of something. Let's see the challenge for that. We get accomplishment. This is an interesting card because we have this man here with a rabbit on his shoulder. It looks like he might be a magician. It looks like he has some cards in his hand. And so this is about showing your cards. I think that, and the rabbit is always about potential. It's about, it's a rebirth symbol. So the challenge here is to sort of come out with this renewed sense of life coming back in. And the challenge is you want to keep your cards close to your vest. You don't want to leak out your creative flow. We're still not, don't put all your ideas out there yet, right? You have to develop them, lest somebody uses them to manipulate you. Let's see what's at the core of this. At the core, at the root is reflection. There's a sense of reflection here. Look at this card, isn't it gorgeous? So this is this sense of renewal, this sense of a new birth is coming out of much reflection, much reflection. Um, and in the past, we have the retreat card. Of course, this was COVID. This was lockdown. This was we felt very isolated. We can see this the planet here, the planet Earth, in the darkness of space, this feeling of being alone and being isolated, and what that has sort of brought forth. But in that isolation, if you can see here, you see all those. There's like light being um, uh, being showered on the earth. So all these little like pieces of light are information, downloads, help from connecting to spirit. So while we were isolated and while we were in retreat, there was a lot of spiritual information and a lot of transformational energy shifts that we've been going through this process. And to a certain extent, say what you will about the virus, say who's responsible for the virus? Was it the Chinese? Was it the Americans? Are they trying to kill us with these vaccines? In the grand scheme of things, it was a time for us to really stop and actually evaluate the direction that we were moving in. And 2020 was that stop. And to a certain extent, the presidency of that 45th president was a vision of a possible future that we do not have to accept, right? We're like, you know what, maybe that's not such a good idea. Let's change it all, let's turn it around. And then of course 2020 we had the conjunction between Pluto and Saturn, the start of a new structure of power, a new structure of power. So in the sky we have the phenomena, and this is an interesting card. Let me bring it a little closer, because I feel like this is the ascension process of the earth and all the inhabitants on the earth. There is a loosening of the density, and we're feeling more connected to the whole. And as we do that, feeling more connected to the world and the energies of the universe, as we do that, the boundaries that separate us fall away. And a virus will do that. A virus will, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter. It does matter how well you've taken care of yourself and how much you've had as far as opportunities, right? If you haven't had many opportunities, the virus is not going to do you well. If you have more opportunities, then you can sort of move through this time without, with difficulty, but not with the same amount of difficulty. But the virus does teach us that, we all put our pants on one leg at a time and all that stuff. We're all human. And so we need to start acting like, instead of when you think about it, humanity is an energy form, and it's always fighting against itself. And if we can change the dynamic and start being more working towards ourselves, right, or working for ourselves, but in a more collective way and in a relational way to the planet that we live on, imagine what we can do. And imagine the cosmos. Hold on, let me see, get that closer. These cards are just so lovely. I'm sorry. I'll get it. I'll find it. I'll find the sweet spot. Anyway, you can see it's a beautiful card, but I'm almost at the sweet spot, I think. Anyway, that says cosmos. Here we go. Maybe there. That's a little better. So this is the past, and this is the future. we're coming out better. We're coming out changed. And I feel like this is a very optimistic reading. A very optimistic reading. One more card. I'm going to pick a card from this oracle deck called Spirit of the Wheel. And I do have to read it out of the book. So this is for this week. What's the energy of this week? Oops. Oh. Okay, well, this fell out. And it's Waboon East, new beginnings, thought process, and inspiration. So this is the card. Let's get it so you can see it. There it is. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So I'll hold it up and I'll read it. I'm just going to have to find the page here. Here we go. So I'll hold it up while I read it. It says keywords, new beginnings, thought process, and inspiration. As you look towards the east and watch the sunrise, feel the gift of inspiration growing within you. Be aware of a new path emerging before you. Before you take the first step, be well aware of your thoughts and energy that will ultimately shape your future as a self-fulfilling prophecy. Let the passion and inspiration of the East card give rise to a fresh start and a new horizon. The winter months of inner reflection and rest are over. Spring is here, and it is time for making new plans. Begin preparing the soil and planting the seeds for your tomorrows. The East card signifies the opportunities are coming your way, so be bold in seizing them. No matter where our past has taken us, we always have the choice to begin anew. The East card reminds that the change can bring us closer to our calling. Every day holds opportunity for growth, and every moment is a gift of life. And this is the prayer. Spirit powers of the East, fill my heart with the illumination of the rising sun. Help me to accept the opportunities for growth that are coming my way. The seeds I plant today will be the future for generations to come. Let me be mindful of the energy I put into my thoughts and into my life. And I think I said all those things. All right, guys, much love, much love. And if you would like to be part of my Kabbalah class, you can see I have my Kabbalah posters up. There'll be some teaching aids for me. That is starting this evening. This is the 22nd. This evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can still join the class if you like. It's a 6-week class. It occurs on consecutive Mondays from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. It is done over Zoom. So if you are interested, you can go to my website, www.theseedsoftransformation.com. It is listed as a special spring event, and it is $120 for a 6-week class. So it's very, very reasonably priced, and it's a great introduction to the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life. So, all right, guys, much love. Have yourself a great week. Make the most of it. The energy is there for you. Just be aware that what you're putting out and what you're thinking matters. Be mindful. Be mindful, because we're creating our future in the moment. Take care. Much love. Thank you, Robin, for my earrings. These might be my favorite of all time, but it's hard to decide because they're all so beautiful. Thank you.